This video is sponsored by Squarespace. We're back. Again. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that the most popular series on my channel turns out to be the thing that requires the least amount of real creative input. Look, I get it. It's the internet. Why wouldn't these kinds of videos be popular? Nevertheless, I feel the need to remind you, there are so many productive things you could be doing right now. Still here? Well, alright then. The study of bodily tissue as it changes over time from infectious disease is called histopathology. The color orange is named after the fruit, not the other way around. It was 28 degrees Fahrenheit in Springfield, Missouri at 5:55 a.m. on Tuesday, February 1st, 2011. The two best-selling authors of all time are William Shakespeare and Agatha Christie, with sales for each estimated between 2 and 4 billion books. The inventor of the fire hydrant is unknown because the device's original patent was destroyed in a fire. Tomatoes are the official state vegetable of New Jersey, and tomato juice is the official state beverage of Ohio. Actor Kiefer Sutherland's full name is Kiefer William Frederick Dempsey George Rufus Sutherland. Actor Richard Gere's middle name is Tiffany. Before the invention of alarm clocks, there was a profession in which you would knock on windows with a long stick to wake people up. These people were called knocker-uppers, and the people who woke them up were called knocker-upper, knocker-uppers. The S in C.S. Lewis stands for staple. The S in Ulysses S. Grant doesn't stand for anything. Cuba and North Korea are the only countries on the planet in which Coca-Cola is not officially sold. The words aspirin, cellophane, escalator, flip phone, laundromat, linoleum, and trampoline were all originally trademarked but have since become generic terms. Rabbits cannot vomit. April 11th, 1954 has been declared by some historians the most boring and uneventful day of the 20th century. As of April 11th, 2021, the studio that I work in has 6 active leaks, smells like sewage, and my landlord still doesn't care. The current world record for longest duration juggling 3 objects is 12 hours and 5 minutes, set by David Slick at North Richland Hills Public Library in Texas on July 22nd, 2009. I'm working on it. The head of IG-88, the droid bounty hunter from The Empire Strikes Back, was made from a Rolls-Royce Nene jet aero engine combustion chamber. Charlie Chaplin and Dolly Parton both entered look-alike competitions of themselves and lost. Metallica is the only band to have performed on all 7 continents, which they did within the span of a single year. Jellied moose nose is a delicacy in parts of North America. One of the ingredients of dynamite is peanuts. Honey does not spoil. 40 is the only number with its letters in alphabetical order. 1 is the only number with its letters in reverse alphabetical order. Every number shares a letter with its predecessor, and Edgar Allan Poe was paid $9 for The Raven. The 6th word in the 6th chapter of the 6th Harry Potter book is of. The first on-screen appearance of the character Hannibal Lecter was in Michael Mann's 1986 film Manhunter. Lecter was spelled L-E-C-K-T-O-R for some reason. From 1977 to 2011, the flag of Libya was just solid green. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas was not directed by Tim Burton. It was directed by Henry Selick. Thank you, YouTube commenters. He would go on to direct James and the Giant Peach and Coraline. Dactylography is the study of fingerprints. The least common birthday after February 29th is December 25th. At 1,650 milliseconds, this animated GIF or GIF of Keanu Reeves blowing a kiss can be watched 52,363 times in a single day. Ray Tomlinson is credited to be the inventor of email and the use of the @separator, and sent the very first one in history to himself. All official casino poker chips weigh between 8.5 and 10 grams. The fear that a duck or goose is watching you is called anatodyphobia. The light on top of the Capitol Records building in Hollywood blinks out Hollywood in Morse code. A car crash in the James Bond film Casino Royale accidentally set the Guinness World Record for most cannon rolls in a car. Sherlock Holmes and John Watson were originally named Sherringford Hope and Ormond Sacker. Shout out to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, coming up with names is hard. The director of Weekend at Bernie's was born on a Tuesday. Car tires are actually white until manufacturers add carbon to the rubber. This increases tensile strength and turns the material black. These sunglasses were purchased for $17.99. History tells us that Napoleon once arranged a rabbit hunt, but when the rabbits were released from their cages, they attacked him instead of running away. On a related note, the Bluetooth symbol is named after the Viking king Harold Bluetooth. The Beatles tried to get a Lord of the Rings movie made starring Paul as Frodo, Ringo as Sam, George as Gandalf, and John as Gollum. They approached Stanley Kubrick to direct. As you can imagine, things did not pan out. Potatoes and bacon share a commonality in that neither of them is a coconut. These are all of the countries with four-letter names. Ablaut reduplication is the term for repeating a word with a different vowel to make a phrase, like chit-chat or ding-dong. Ping pong, sometimes called whiff-waff, is the most popular indoor sport in the world. King Kong had his own animated series in the late 1960s. Bing Bong, the imaginary friend from Pixar's Inside Out, was designed to be a hybrid of a cat, a dolphin, and an elephant. Sing Song is the name of a 2017 musical from the Netherlands. Tim Tam is the name of a chocolate biscuit from Australia. Flim Flam is the title of a 1991 album by Steve Lacy and Steve Potts. Criss Cross released their first album in 1992. Tony Toney's album Sons of Soul was named Rolling Stone's second best album of 1993. Swing Swang Swung, the fourth studio album by the Christian rock band Guardian, was released in 1994. Tick-tock is the sound a clock makes. Tick-tock is the name of a robotic man appearing in the 1985 film Return to Oz, and Tick-tock is also an app that for the life of me I still can't quite figure out. The most expensive chair ever sold at auction is this leather dragon's piece designed by the late Irish architect Eileen Gray for approximately $28 million. Incidentally, 2020 marked the first time that vinyl records outsold CDs since the year 1986. All British tanks designed after World War II include equipment to make tea. This stock footage clip by videographer Daniel Dash is entitled Homemade Mini Tarts with Fresh Sliced Plum Fruit and has a total runtime of 14 seconds. These are the global coordinates for Montevideo, Uruguay. Tally marks are not the same across cultures. Abraham Lincoln named his fourth and youngest son Tad because he had a small body, a large head, and wiggled like a tadpole. There's no way. Like, that's a joke, right? It isn't? Isaac Asimov is the only author to have written books in 9 of the 10 categories of the Dewey Decimal System. He did everything but philosophy, so if you want to be the first one to do it, I'm telling you there's a chance. Technically speaking, newborn babies can't cry. While they may scream a bunch, babies cannot produce tears for anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months after birth. The atomic number of bismuth is 83. If you rearrange the letters in the words hypotenuse, you can spell stewiephone, which you may have guessed is not a word. Charlie Chaplin was the first actor ever to appear in Time magazine. In case you were wondering, it was the 6th of July 1925 issue. Bats give birth upside down. The mother uses her wings to catch the baby during delivery. I would show you a video, but I don't want to watch it. The first jigsaw puzzles were called dissected maps. The Empire State Building has its own zip code, 10118. I have it on good authority that Gerber's chicken baby food is also a popular remedy for sick ferrets. The Seiko SKX007 is one of the most iconic diver's watches in history. It comes in two varieties, one made in China, the other made in Japan. The only real difference is a small inscription at the bottom. Cigarette butts make up more than 1/3 of all litter on the planet. They are not biodegradable. In fact, they are considered hazardous material. Cities spend around $3 to $16 million on cigarette cleanup every year. The following is a list of the top 20 baby names for American boys in the year 1952. James, Robert, John, Michael, David, William, Richard, Thomas, Charles, Gary, Stephen, Joseph, Larry, Donald, Ronald, Kenneth, Mark, Dennis, Paul, and Daniel. For girls, Linda, Mary, Patricia, Deborah with an O, Susan, Barbara, Nancy, Karen, Deborah, no O, Sandra, Kathleen, Carol, Donna, Sharon, Brenda, Diane, Pamela, Cynthia, Janet, and Christine. I should get out of here before they call the cops. The last state-sanctioned execution by guillotine was on September 10th, 1977 in France. 3 of Akira Kurosawa's films are adaptations of Shakespeare plays. Ran is King Lear, Throne of Blood is Macbeth, and The Bad Sleep Well is Hamlet. Approximately 6 million Americans suffer from at least one broken bone every year. The word pirates backwards is Setarip, which also happens to be the name of an Edmonton-based computer company that has been operating since 2004. It does not appear as if their business's website has ever really been set up. If the webmaster happens to be watching this video for whatever reason, I know just the folks to help with that. Donuts were originally called oily cakes, and writer Washington Irving is believed to be the first writer to describe them in print. Mark Twain's The Adventures of Tom Sawyer is the first book to be written on a typewriter. James Joyce wrote most of Finnegan's Wake on cardboard with crayons. The 7th oldest video on YouTube is Vernal Lullaby by Adam Quirk. The world's longest bench is in Geneva, Switzerland, and measures around 120 meters. There is no Roman numeral for 0, because the ancient Greeks didn't actually consider it a number. Only 1/6 of your eyeball is visible. The sea lion was the first non-human mammal with a proven ability to keep a beat. In the early 1600s, tulip flowers were introduced into Holland and were so popular that their bulbs were often more valuable than gold. It sparked the first known speculative economic bubble in history, tulip mania, and the bubble burst in 1637. The world record for running a half marathon backwards is 1 hour 40 minutes. September, October, November, and December used to be the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th months, which is why their prefixes are the way they are. They were pushed back when July and August were added to the calendar in honor of Julius and Augustus Caesar. The oldest active webcam in the world is the San Francisco Fog Cam, which has been running since 1994. The first webcam ever used was at the University of Cambridge's computer lab in 1991 for the noble purpose of letting folks know if the coffee pot in the break room was full or empty. From 1867 to 1920, the number of horses rose from 7.8 million to 25 million, thanks to the invention of the automobile. The potato was the first graphic to ever appear on a license plate, starting in Idaho during the year 1928. Every 3 days, elevators carry the equivalent of the entire planet's population. On average, you will spend 2 weeks of your life tying your shoes. If you perform 8 perfect shuffles in a row with a standard deck of playing cards, the deck will return to its original order. Shout out to Matt S. for the following 3 factoids. New Zealand is the world's 8th hidden continent. More than half of it is submerged. According to the University of Vienna in Austria, almost all birds, including crows, geese, and swans, have the cognitive power to memorize people, their faces, and their voices. So be kind to them at the park. The average lifespan of a mute swan is 15 to 20 years in the wild and up to 40 years in protected habitat. NASA helmets feature Velcro patches that let astronauts scratch their noses. Velcro's design has become 8 times stronger since its first incarnation. The world's longest kiss lasted for 58 hours, 35 minutes, and 58 seconds. 60% of the human brain is made up of fat. Chipotle, Starbucks, and Barnes & Noble collected nearly $100 million last year from unredeemed gift cards. Polar bears are left-handed. Microwaves heat food by causing water, fat, and sugar molecules to vibrate at 2.5 trillion times per second. Bubble wrap was originally invented as a wallpaper. Green Bay quarterback Brett Favre threw 16 interceptions in the 2002 NFL season. Lemon trees can produce up to 600 pounds of lemons every year. The cigarette lighter was invented before the match. Hair gel has been around for at least 3,500 years. Ancient Egyptians used fat-based concoctions to sculpt their styles way before the arrival of more modern hair products. The amount of cardboard thrown away annually is enough to heat 50 million houses for the next 2 decades. The average strawberry has 200 seeds. Philip Dial engineered the motor used in the very first electric sewing machines. In 1882, he adapted this design to produce the very first electric ceiling fans. The average price of a gallon of gas in the United States, Midwest region, on March 16, 2009, was $1.81. Scotch tape was invented in 1930 by a banjo player. The original publication run of the Nancy Drew Mystery Series consists of 56 books. I have taken the titles of each of these books and tracked how often particular letters are used. Here are the results. The letter A is used 57 times. The letter B, 18 times. The letter C, 50 times. D, 33. The letter E is used 199 times. F, 28. G, 24. H, 108. I, 62. J, 3. K, 13. L, 60. M, 39. N, 62. O, 77. P, 25. Q, 2. R, 70. S, 80. T, 156. U, 30. V, 6. W, 17. X, 2. The letter Y is used 45 times, and the letter Z is used 0. Charade is a 1963 motion picture starring Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. The 10th word spoken in the film is loaded. Most people lose about 30% of their taste buds while flying in an airplane. The longest cinematically released non-experimental film is a 2019 Bangladesh movie entitled The Innocents, with a total runtime of 1,265 minutes, or a little over 21 hours. Apple's original logo was an image of Isaac Newton sitting under a tree. Most modern dishwashers use only 1/10 of the water you use when washing dishes by hand. A gallon of milk cost about 91 cents in the year 1954. 78% of Americans have at least one cavity by age 17. The game of darts is believed to have originated sometime during the 14th century to keep knights and soldiers occupied when they weren't on the battlefield. Originally, they threw arrowheads into the bottom of empty wine barrels. The longest receipt ever printed was in a struggling New York City grocery store called HERCULES Fancy Grocery. When a group of artists found out that the store was about to lose its lease, they purchased every single item available on shelves to the tune of about $20,000 to fund an art exhibit. The receipt took a little over 6 hours to print, and it measured about 57 feet and 6 inches. Also, it ended up hurting the store rather than helping because the business owners had to sink a ton of money into restocking efforts to keep the store afloat. The business is now closed. Feel like that one should have had its own video. Oh well. John Singer Sargent was born January 12, 1856, and was considered the leading portrait painter of his generation. He created over 2,000 watercolors, around 900 oil paintings, and he also did charcoal drawings and sketches too. He was fluent in English, French, Italian, and German, and if that were not enough, dude could grow a pretty mean mustache. Asthma causes kids to miss more than 10 million school days every year. During World War II, the U.S. military designed grenades to match the size and weight of a baseball, reckoning that any young American man would be able to properly throw them. Also, not to ruin every baseball movie ever, but MLB Rule 7 subsection 5 says clearly that catching a baseball with your hat is against the rules. If you do, the batter is awarded 3 bases. Hey, did you guys know that the Acer Chromebook Model 15 has a built-in touchscreen? Took me 2 years to find out. The average person will consume 3 bottles of ketchup per year. According to customer surveys, yellow was the least popular color for iPhone 11. At the time of this recording, 7 dogs have won Best in Show more than once at the Westminster Dog Show, including a smooth-coated fox terrier named Warren Remedy, who won the first 3 years of the Best in Show category back to back to back. The dog's owner was Winthrop Rutherford, a New York socialite whose wife, Lucy Mercer, had an affair with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. All of this is to say that on January 14, 1943, FDR became the first president to travel on official business by airplane. The kazoo was first produced in the USA around 1852. Lemurs have 2 tongues. Sheep have rectangular pupils, which give them around a 270 to 320 degree field of view. They can see pretty much everything around them except for anything directly behind them. This helps them to avoid potential predators. Prosthetic eyes are typically called glass eyes, but nowadays they're mostly made of acrylic. The 99th digit of pi is 7. The average response time for firefighters in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the start of 2018 was around 12 minutes, which is close to double the standard set forth by the National Fire Protection Association. The 6th paragraph in Chapter 30 of Pride and Prejudice begins with the following sentence: "In this quiet way, the first fortnight of her visit soon passed away." Ham is the most common sandwich meat, followed by chicken and then beef. Thomas Austin, no relation, was an English settler in Australia who many attribute to the introduction of rabbits to the continent in 1859. He had a wife named Elizabeth, and that's what she looked like. Eye-rolling has been present in literature since at least the 16th century. William Shakespeare would use it to portray lust or passion for another character. Yes, during that time period, eye-rolling was used as a way to indicate flirting. It continued to be used that way in literature for centuries. In fact, it didn't really translate to a negative connotation until about the 1980s. So, like, whatever. The shortest professional game of Go, ending in resignation, was played on November 21st, 1996 at the 53rd Japanese Honinbo Preliminary. The match only lasted for 20 moves. You burn about 50 calories an hour while you sleep. The average storm cloud weighs a little over 105 million pounds. The Victoria Falls waterfall in Zimbabwe is so loud that it can be heard from 25 miles away. The US has never lost a war in which mules were used, and Tony the Tiger's nose on Frosted Flakes cereal boxes is a spoon headed toward the bowl. Subliminal messaging, gotta love it. The cat held by Marlon Brando in the opening scene of The Godfather was a stray that the director found on the lot at Paramount. It wasn't in the script originally, but they thought it looked cool, so they put it in the movie. The cat was so chill on set that it purred the entire time, muffling a lot of Brando's dialogue, so most of his lines in that scene had to be looped in post-production. The average woman in the Netherlands owns about 6 purses. The 13th Labor is one of the last remaining unsolved Perplex City puzzle cards. You are more than welcome to take a crack at solving it because, frankly, I am all out of ideas. Okay, this one really bothers me. In 2016, Kodak announced a new Super 8 camera intended to revive the retro format by adding new features like a digital viewfinder, audio recording, and a robust post-production ecosystem that would make the film's development easy and convenient. I signed up for a mailing list on Kodak's official website from which the company promised continual development updates and the camera's release in 2018. Yet, 5 years later, despite numerous sightings of the camera in the wild, Kodak has never updated the public as to the camera's status, and in fact, scrubbed all evidence of the camera from their website completely. I just want to know what happened. Garden path sentences are grammatically correct sentences that start in a way so the reader's initial interpretation will likely be incorrect, forcing them to reparse the sentence until they get the true meaning. Here's a few of them to have fun with. This is my preferred brand of deodorant, but honestly I'm not too picky. Bram Stoker's Dracula was originally published on May 26, 1897 and consisted of 418 pages. This should not be construed as an endorsement. The Game Boy Micro had a screen resolution of 240 by 160 pixels. Tornadoes have touched down on every continent except Antarctica. Banjo-Kazooie for the Nintendo 64 was the biggest and fastest-selling game of 1998. The Mona Lisa is currently estimated to be worth about $2.7 billion, making it more valuable than at least 13 different countries. The artist, Leonardo da Vinci, was left-handed. It's a common misconception that the Phillips head screwdriver is named after its inventor. It isn't. It's named after the man who owned the company that purchased the design. Domitian began his reign as the Roman emperor in the year 81 AD, which also happens to be the exact amount of change that I have in my pocket. The Watermelon War occurred on the morning of April 15, 1856 in Panama City, after an American took a slice of watermelon from a street vendor and refused to pay for it. The resulting altercation sparked a massive riot, resulting in the death of 15 Americans, 2 Panamanians, the destruction of several businesses, and damage to the local railroad station. 40% of teddy bear sales are for grown-ups. The full name of the character DW in the children's show Arthur is Dora Winifred Reed. The 5th season of 24 begins at 7 a.m. There are 87 steps at the Lincoln Memorial from the chamber to the reflecting pool. The number 87, or 4-score-and-7, is a tribute to Abraham Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address. The American School Bus Council estimates that communities save around $7.7 billion annually by using school buses instead of private transportation when taking kids to class. You cannot sneeze while in REM sleep. The median household income in Topeka, Kansas was $35,928 in the year 2000. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, each year more than 900,000 people visit the emergency room due to ladder-related injuries, at least 50% of which were due to individuals carrying items while they climbed. This private island is currently available for purchase in Nova Scotia, Canada for about $65,000. Alternatively, you could stay for one night at the Hotel President Wilson Penthouse in Geneva, Switzerland. The first computerized version of Battleship was designed in 1979 and was one of the first games scripted for a computer. The game Chinese Checkers has very little to do with actual checkers and was invented by the Germans, not the Chinese. Book thief Steven Blumberg stole over 23,000 rare books from 268 libraries. Experts believe the stolen goods total upwards of $20 million. And for those interested, we have a word for people who steal books: bibliokleptomanes. A little over 1.5 billion smartphones were sold worldwide in 2019. A pound of corn consists of approximately 1,300 kernels. The first modern wind turbine was built in Vermont in the 1940s. The average ink pen can write approximately 45,000 words. The world record in cycling backwards while playing a violin is 37.5 miles in 5 hours and 8 seconds. The mean half-life of caffeine in plasma of healthy individuals is about 5 hours. And finally, owls are the only type of bird that can see the color blue. Well, here we are. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, remember, you chose to click on this video. You saw the title. You did this, not me. Hey, want to build a website? This video's sponsor, Squarespace, is the all-in-one platform to make your online project a reality. They make building a beautiful website easy. Start by selecting from one of their stunning templates and then customize it to your specific needs. Let's say you're an aspiring podcaster or videographer. Their video and audio blocks feature makes it easy to share your work. Build your own online community with their brand new member areas feature, or set up shop with an online storefront. You can try Squarespace out for free at squarespace.com. Give it a shot. If you like the experience, then when you're ready to launch your site, head over to squarespace.com/AustinMcConnell to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.